Hello everyone, welcome to this video. Today I am going to walk you through the Snowflake console. So when we start working with Snowflake, when we start uh, learning Snowflake, right, when we create our new account, we work in the Snowflake Web Console, okay? And the Snowflake Web Console is a very powerful, simple to use UI based application that makes our data engineering and the Snowflake experience very smooth and easy. So this is our login page. Once we feed in our credential here, it will take us to the Snowflake console. There are a lot of things in just one UI, right? So in this UI, you get almost everything. You don't have to switch to any other UI or any other page or any other plugin to access Snowflake objects or its features. So let me walk you through this UI, and I will also share some hidden tips and tricks which will make your life easy. Okay. Now when you log into this UI, on the right hand side top corner you see your username. So this is your display name. So when we create any Snowflake user, there is an attribute saying display name. If we do not put anything in that display name, by default your Snowflake username will pop up here as your display name. Okay. And then down to that you have sysadmin. This sysadmin is one of the system roles that we get in Snowflake. So Snowflake comes with 5 system roles, and we create additional custom roles based on our need. So whenever we create any user, Snowflake user, we define a default role. And every time you log into this console, the default role will pop up here. So when we created this user, we added sysadmin as the default role. And if you do not add any default role while creating the user, by default it will pick public role as the default role, and every time you log in, public role will appear here. And in this UI, now you see that there is a main menu bar on the top. So we have on the left hand side you have the Snowflake icon, then database, shares, data marketplace, warehouses. All of these tabs that you see, these are the tabs, and the horizontal bar which you see is your main menu. Now which all tabs that is visible to you depends on what's your current role. So your current role is sysadmin, and based on the sysadmin you have your all the options or the tabs visible to you. If you switch the role to account admin, you will see that there is a change in the main menu bar where you get this account tab added additionally. So account tab is accessible by account admin and security admin only. Other than this, you see the notification additionally added, right? Partner connect additionally added. So these are some of the exclusive features of Snowflake available to account admin only. And accordingly, based on what's your current role and your access level, you will get your options available on the top menu bar. Down to that, you have the worksheet. So this is the worksheet that you see at the bottom, just below the main menu bar. Why? Because currently you are in the worksheet tab. There are multiple tabs here. When you switch to the databases, this is the database tab, and here you can access all the database objects. So by default, every time you log in, you will get into the worksheet tabs, and in the worksheet, what you can do, what you cannot do, all depends on the worksheet role, which you can see here. So there is no relation between the worksheet role and your top menu role. If your top menu role is account admins and in your worksheet you have the public role, still you will not be able to access objects because your current role for the worksheet is public role. So I will talk about this worksheet in a separate video in detail because there are many things to talk about in the worksheet tab. Let me take you to the first tab, which is databases. So as you all know that Snowflake is a warehouse, but it's a warehouse, and it's more than a warehouse. You can use it for data engineering, data sharing, data science, a lot of different use cases. But after all, it's a database. So here we store data, we query data, and database is the logical container where we put together all the data, related data, right? So by default, when you access your new account in Snowflake, you will have Snowflake database, UtilDB database, DemoDB database, and Snowflake sample database. These are the 4 databases that you would see coming in by default along with your account. I can give you more detail about the Snowflake sample data. So Snowflake sample data comes with different schemas, and each of these schema contain a set of tables, right? So if you go to the tables and when you click on sort by schema, right, you will see that you have sales, store sales, then catalog sales, so sales related tables, then you have customer related tables down the line, right? Some of the tables are plain structured data, some of the table is variant structured data, right? So I will walk you through these data sets in the worksheet separately. I will have a separate video for going through and playing with the sample data separately, right? In the databases, you can select any of the database. Let's say I'm selecting this dev database. So in this dev database, now you get the list of database objects, which is like, tables, views, schemas, stages, file formats, sequences, and pipes. But this is not as per the hierarchy. Hierarchy is like you have your database, inside database you have multiple schemas, and then inside schema you have your objects. So tables, views, stages, file formats, sequence, pipes, all of these are the schema level objects. This will be defined within certain schema, and the schema will be defined within the database. So this is how the hierarchy is. You have on top, you have your database, then your schema, and then all the schema level objects. I will talk about all of these object types in a separate session in detail. This is if you go to the list of tables, you can create table through the UI also. So if you let's say create a demo table in the public schema, and here you can give some comment like demo for demo purpose, right? Add some column. So here you give the name ID, you select the type as integer if you want to go with the integer, or you can go to the drop down and select the data type, right? And if it is a not null field, you specify not null field. Add another column saying, let's say name, and let's keep it integer. Let's keep it a string and nullable. Click on finish. Before you click on finish, this UI can generate a SQL for you, and alternatively you can create this table in the UI by running this SQL. So this SQL can be executed in the UI, your worksheet tab. Okay, you can copy this and further you can run this in the worksheet tab. Okay, finish. Now when you create this table, who is the owner of this table? Account admin. How account admin become the owner of this table? Because account admin is the current role here, right? And in the worksheet, if you try to access this table by some other role, which will obviously be lower than the account admin, because account admin is the topmost role in the Snowflake account, right? And unless account admin grant the privilege of accessing this table to some other role will not be able to access, right? So here you can click on grants, say that you want to give the select privilege to sysadmin. So you select the sysadmin role here and then click on grants. So you see that now the select granted to sysadmin, and in the UI, if you use the sysadmin role, you should be able to see this table. You should be able to run select queries on this table, right? So this is the one of the components that we have in the table database tabs. Similarly, there are some other things that you can do here is like you can create a replica of this table without copying the data. So you can click on create, table and clone it, copy it as any existing, this table, right? Then you have a clone option. So we will be talking about the cloning, zero copy cloning in Snowflake, how it happens in some other video. You also have an option of loading data. So when you click on load data, let's say you have a file on your local system, and in that local system you have some data and you want to load it into table. So through UI also you can do that. And for that, if you let's say have one simple text file where I say that emp underscore data.csv, and if I just put some data here like 1 abc 2 xyz and save this. Okay, now in the UI I select the warehouse, because anyways the warehouse is always needed for loading data into any table. So select the default warehouse and then select the file from your location, which is here in the desktop, right? This one. Okay, and click on next. It is asking us to select the file format. So file format is the definition which helps us to parse the file, external file, and load the data into Snowflake table. So we haven't defined this file format yet, which we can define by clicking on this option. And if we do not define this file format, then by default it will consider it as a CSV file format without any header. Okay, so let's go ahead with default thing, because I would be covering all the topics like file format, stages, sequences in separate videos. Click on next, and you have 4 options to manage the load through this UI wizard. Like do not load any data in the file, then stop loading, rollback and return to the error. Do not load any data in the file if the error count exceed a threshold like 1, 2, 5, 10, whatever. Continue loading valid data from a file even in case you get an error. So all of these options are available to handle the error while loading data from the file. Additionally, if you look at, there is a SQL also which gets generated, and internally behind the scene this SQL will be basically called to execute. Let's click on load, and here you see that file gets encrypted first, then a stage was, so this file was brought on a stage area of Snowflake, and then it loaded into the table. So the table loading is done, and in this UI you will not see any feature of looking through the list of data that is there in the file that is there in the table. So you will just get the metadata like table definition, view definition, table listing, all of that. Likewise, you have views. You can create the view through this UI also. You have schemas. By default there are 2 schemas like information schema and public schema. You can create other schemas also here just through this UI. Give a name here like demo, and click on finish. So when you create this demo, again the owner becomes the account admin, and you can grant the privileges to the other roles. But in Snowflake we never recommend having account admin as the owner of any object, because we want to let system admin and security admin manage all the objects. Because account admin, we limit the access of the account admin role to maximum 2 users who generally do not manage the Snowflake accounts regularly, right? So we have an option of transfer ownership. We will transfer the ownership to sysadmin and finish. So now the owner is sysadmin, and sysadmin can manage the schema and its objects. Okay, Likewise, you have stages, file formats, sequences, pipes, and couple of more things which comes under the database schemas, which is not listed here, but we would be able to access it through the worksheet. So I will cover about all of these objects in separate videos, and I'm going to talk about other tabs also in a separate video. So please look for the another video. See you there. Thank you.